Good morning, and welcome back to the One that Celtic Fans View today. I hope today finds you well, and make sure to give the video a thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel to make sure that we get to the 16,000 before the end of the season. Sunday it is back to SPFL business. We do play Dundee, away to Dundee with that little reduced allocation, but John Hartson and people have been talking all around the country who should play up front. Listen to this.
I would play James Forrest probably, Paul, because what I've seen from Yang the other day, I was at handball and I thought Yang was really bad in the first half, but yeah, I would probably be between Forrest and Palmer, but I would probably edge towards James Forrest.
Interesting.
John?
I think Ida might come back in.
Shock horror. John Hartson says that Kyogo will be dropped this weekend for the big man himself, Adam Ida. Would it be a good game to bring him back away to Dundee?
I do.
Alongside Kyogo?
No,
Yeah,
I think he becomes the main one.
Okay.
I think he's a player in form. I think he's impressed every time he's played. He's got some really valuable goals for Celtic.
Yeah.
And he's been going with Kyogo quite regular of late. I think you've started the last 3 games, Kyogo, 3 or 4 games. And I just feel that Ida, from the start, you might just see a little bit more from him rather than coming off on the bench. And as Neil said, he said it's very difficult to pick up the pace. But even coming off the substitute bench, you've still managed to do quite well and score goals. So I think you may well see a change down the middle this weekend, Regan. I'm complete. Listen, Kyogo's magnificent. He's world class, but he's not been in the best of touch this season.
Yeah, I totally get
since
that.
he does come in, he's made a big impact.
I totally get that, and I think it'll be. And I think that John's right, because when you think about the way that Brendan Rodgers will look at it this weekend, we still have 2 Glasgow derbies to come up. One at home at Celtic Park, and then obviously the final on the 25th of May. And you want to make sure that Kyogo is in as top form as possible for then. I think switching it up, especially for this game, and it makes sure that Kyogo doesn't get any injury. We all seen him grab his shoulder at the weekend again, and we thought, it's maybe just going to be one of those good games. It's going to be a bit of a rough and tussle game this weekend. They're going to try and make sure that we don't score, and they're going to try their damnedest, just like they did a couple of weeks ago against other teams. And remember, they sneaked into the top 6 with a couple of draws. So I think it's a good one to get big Adam Ida, and he's got the height to probably come up against their defence, and if we can get a good cross ball from Alistair Johnston, and not even just Alistair Johnston, even James Forrest. But then again, James Forrest knows how to score goals coming off the wing, something that has eluded some of our wingers quite regular this season.
Joe Shaughnessy went off at the weekend. Looked a naughty one, you always feel when it's not an impact injury and it's
striker, or you've made a goal for a midfielder, the oncoming midfielder, you've cut it back to the edge of the box. And sometimes wingers, for me, they look to cut inside and they shoot from ridiculous ranges, right?
Yeah.
They try and play balls in from not particularly areas.
Yeah.
And I always think David Beckham, right? These type of players, they never went past a player. They didn't have any pace.
didn't need to.
David Beckham would shift it and bang, cross it with that whip.
Yep.
So in between the centre back who's got his back to the goal, and the goalkeeper who's a bit unsure to come or not to come about it, just played in that area, because as a striker, that's the area that you're attacking.
The game is changed in a certain way, John, because if you see now, the majority of players playing in the wide positions will be encouraged to come in on the inside because they're a right-footed winger playing in left, or a lefty like Kuhn, for example, right, playing off the right, so he's coming inside. So the service really needs to be a threaded ball, or a wee feathered one towards the back post, which is a really hard ball to do. There is nothing better. You've got an outside left, an outside right. You've got Danny Armstrong, who plays on the right for Killie, but he'll go on the outside, right? And that gives a defender an absolute nightmare thought process, because he thinks, if I show him down the line, he's going to run me and whip it with his right foot. If I overcover, he's just going to come in onto his strong side. But I don't know how you felt, my job getting by the fullback was to put a ball into the box for you to go and attack. Yeah. Because as soon as I go by a fullback,
I love that.
Because Because if I'm by the fullback, you better believe that if the centre backs are not opening up, the big man's going to annihilate me at the back post.
And I think that's what frustrates a lot of Celtic fans, doesn't it? It's our wingers don't seem to want to get by people, and maybe he's right. I said that the wingers these days, they want to come in and it's just a different type of winger. We need a good old fashioned wingers, don't we? A bit like when McNamara and Simon Donnelly played for Celtic. Those two were fantastic on the wing with each other. I mean, they were brilliant. They understood each other. They made sure that if McNamara was overlapping Donnelly would then fall back. And it was just the two of them were brilliant. And we seem to don't have that at Celtic just now. And, I mean, James Forrest takes 2 touches at the weekend. James Forrest takes 2 touches and he scores, basically. He scores. He knew to not cut in. And my issue with Yang, he was coming far too far into the middle of the park. Way too far into the middle of the park. It's where James Forrest, he would wait, he would be gone down the byline until he got to about the 18-yard line, and then he would cut in. James Forrest has got it in his book all day to score goals from that angle, though. I mean, John Hartson's saying that, it's ridiculous that wingers do that, but James Forrest has done it his whole career. Is it a game for James Forrest to come back in? Yes, I would probably say so. Can James Forrest get good crosses into Adam Ida? Yes, I think he can. So it's going to be a big weekend for Brendan Rodgers. Does he start with Kyogo? Does he give Kyogo a rest, knowing that there are 6 important games, 5 in the league and the cup final? It would be a good time to just give Adam Ida that little run. I think he's still got a few goals left in him at Celtic this season. And then we'll just leave to what happens with Adam Ida in the summer. We'll leave that until the summer, let's face it, because no one knows what is going on at Celtic when it comes to looking at players for the summer. Now stick around to the end of the video because there is a little funny moment. Yes, if you remember, those of us of an age will remember when the news used to say, and finally. And we're going to finish on an and finally funny moment at the end of this video. But before that, there's been a lot of speculation about Celtic going for the Sunderland goalkeeper. Now, I think that this one won't go ahead because the money involved, if we're not going to go for, I can understand why we've been linked with this keeper, but the player that plays in the championship has made 90 championship appearances, 27 clean sheets to his name. The season has been a tough one for young Patterson at Sunderland, and he has been linked with Celtic. But currently, Sunderland AFC News, they're looking for the best part of between 15 million pounds for the player. For me, Brendan Rodgers did say back in December that Celtic will be looking to smash the record that they paid, the record transfer fee, which was for Odsonne Edouard, remember him? What a player. Anyway, how far back have we come since then? Picking out players like Edouard and yeah, well, anyway, there's no chance Celtic are going to pay between 15 and 20 million for the player who is contracted until 2028, I think it is. But Arsenal are in about there. Leeds United, Leicester City have all made checks on the player. The fact that Celtic have been looking at a new goalkeeper, you know what Celtic are like, to try and get one on the cheap. But with the speculation that the one and only Joe Hart, we're going to talk about him in just a minute, could stay at Celtic, would that then sway the keeper? Because then you would then see a pathway of an English international being part of the coaching setup that would help him get into the England and the English side. Is that right? Fuck knows. Anyway, there's one young lad that is done particularly well this season, even though the club that he went to has been relegated. And it's unfortunate that it was the team that Scott Brown once managed. Bosun Lawwell has obviously generated some raised eyebrows, the fact that he went from playing in the defence into midfield. His performances haven't went unnoticed this season, with a number of clubs making contact with Celtic, asking if the player will be going out on loan next season. But the fact that Fleetwood Town play their last game this weekend, will it be the fact that Bosun Lawwell will return to Celtic the week after? He'll return to Celtic and he will go straight into training at Lennoxtown. Is there a chance that we may see him on the bench before the end of the season? Now, that would be a turnaround and a half for the player. I'm not sure if that can happen or not, or if he is actually contracted until the end of the Scottish Premier League season. But the fact that Fleetwood Town's league, their games are finished next weekend, I'm not sure how that works out. I'm sure someone will tell me the right information in the comments, as you always do. And I haven't been checking the comments because I've been really busy with work the last couple of days. I've been fantastically busy this week. Which is all good, but it is back to normal today. So it is back to normal, and we will get all the videos out as we can. Anyway, let's listen to the one and only John Hartson talking about our very own goalkeeper, and a little funny bit of news at the end.
His reaction when he missed it was a wink,
Yeah,
and a laugh.
Fucking tell me about it. I was raging at the time. He winked and laughed because he missed that penalty. I was absolutely raging at the time.
If you're on television, you say, what are you doing? What are you just missed a penalty that could have cost Celtic.
Yep.
But listen, you had the character, and he is full of character. I think he's become a real fan favourite. The fans absolutely love him. He loves being at the football club with all the success he's had over the years, and the 80 whatever caps he's got for England, played in World Cups, won Premier Leagues. And it's great to see a player with that, with that experience, enjoying his time at Celtic. Whether or not he's offered a role, I think he would be fantastic if he was to be offered like a goalkeeping coach sort of role, or just to speak to the younger goalkeepers coming through. Maybe something that Celtic may think of.
Stevie Woods does a great job at Celtic, doesn't he?
Great job,
he's top notch, absolutely. I'm just thinking, May the 25th, it could be the last time we see those two keepers playing in the same pitch in Scotland. Listen, we'd love Jack Butland to stay in Scotland, but Neil, undoubtedly. Well, do you think there'll be offers for him?
Yeah, I would think that.
Yeah, the breaking news is that Rangers are ready to sell Jack Butland. And on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.